Dev's office. I think it's a place where we've all been way too many times, and this guy is way too rich as well. However, with the new DevCost rework, we were paying him a lot less money. And will this fix people going to PVM and trying new things? And what is even the psychology behind DevCost? Well, let's talk about it. Yo, what's going on guys? My name is Rework, and today we're going to be doing a deep dive on DevCost, the psychology behind it, and just in general, where did the issue even originate from? I've been really enjoying doing these deep dives, like how I did with group bosses and the endgame syndrome as well. If you missed those videos, go check them out, they're on my channel. However, I like doing this research, like looking into the psychology behind things and looking how Jagex looks at things and players, etc, etc, looking at it from so many different perspectives. So if there's any other topics you would like me to discuss in this, I guess, mini-series or whatever, let me know in the comment section down below. If you're going to enjoy this video, leave a like, subscribe if you're new, join my Twitch channel as well, link will be in the description. I stream every single day at 6 PM game time. Join the Discord, and without further ado, let's get into the video. So first things first, I think it would be good to just kind of recap and go back in time a little bit. Why DevCost? Why did they even introduce it in the first place? Jagex has recently released a very, very detailed developer blog, which I'll be linking in the description down below, and just be taking parts from it in this video to not bore you with an entire... I think if I would make a video about it and discuss every single part, it would be like half an hour long. But it's very interesting, and they go into literal detail, like all detail that you ever need to know about this entire system, the economy, etc. But the most important thing is, why did DevCost even happen? I think we all know it, right? It's the item/GP sync in the first place. When this system was designed, it was made with the idea to sync items and GP from the game. Because if you don't know why this is important, it's pretty much basic economy, right? Inflation. If items and GP don't leave the game, there's too much in it and things will become worth less. So, for example, your 3 bill now is worth 3 bill. However, if there was too much inflation, that 3 bill would be 30 bill, but the 30 bill is actually 3 bill right now, if that makes any sense. Let's not talk too much about inflation because that is boring, but it's important to kind of bring up and talk about. And the system became an issue because, well, surprise, surprise, Jagex designed an issue that wasn't really very well thought out. Well, it was well thought out, but not on the long term, which is quite interesting because we'll be talking about that later on in this video as well. Long term versus short term memory. However, at the time of designing, they made it with the idea that, you know, the most expensive item was a spirit shield at around 1 billion, and around the release, the majority of the high tier items were 300 million GP. Yeah, look at your items right now. Probably your average item is 300 million GP. So yeah, that's a bit awkward. Yeah, that's really awkward because that made the DevCost really, really expensive. The gear that you're seeing me do Zamrak with right now will give me a DevCost of around 6 million GP. That's quite a lot of money, and it's quite punishing for dying, and I'm not that great, so I will die a lot. But it became a bit of a punishment, Dev. But is that a good thing or a bad thing? Well, I think it's both-sided, right? I don't think deaths should be completely free, right? I don't think it's good to completely go into a boss fight, risk-free, and just be like, oh, well, I will kill it, or I will just die and run back, right? I feel like you should lose some progress, or at least there should be some punishment, however, in what way, shape, or form. However, me having to pay 5 million GP every single I die is a bit extreme, and that's why I think this new rework is really good. You will still be paying a little bit of money, and there's still some risk to dying because you lose time and you lose a little bit of money, and in general it's just annoying to die. And it's better and it's good because I don't feel like you should be harshly punished like how you are right now, because that keeps people from PVMing. However, things have changed because, quite frankly, when the system was designed, invention wasn't really a thing. And invention became such a good item sync that it made it so that this idea of DevCost became not reluctant necessarily, because we still need a cache, like hard GP sync. Because sure, invention sunk the items, however, it didn't sync GP. I mean, if anything, invention brought more raw GP into the game by having auto alkers and stuff like that. But there's still a need for a GP sync, even now with the dev cost changes rework. So Jagex finally looked broader, and I think old school RuneScape has something to do with it, because obviously old school RuneScape had an issue with money, inflation, etc., just like RuneScape 3 does, and they introduced a G-Tax, and I think that might have laid the blueprint for this idea as well. Look, Jagex has been aware that dev cost has been an issue within RuneScape for a very, very long time now. However, there needs to be a counter system, but what could that counter system be? Well, they settled on a 2% GE tax. Pretty much in the numbers they showed is if they do a 2% GE tax with the amount of cash that is traded on the GE right now, it will be pretty much equivalent to all the raw GP that is going out of the game right now from dev cost. So it's kind of making up for it. And if anything, if you really think about it, on the high tier items, especially when the max cash will be increased later on this year, people are like, oh yeah, well, that sucks, blah, 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 blah. But don't you think that merchers take a 2% margin on your above cash tag items anyway? Trust me, they do. They probably take even more than 2%. So it probably isn't even that bad of a thing in the grand scheme of things. However, there was another thing that kind of changed their mind. And I think this is the most important part. And I think this is the meat and bones of this video as well. The free dev weeks showed a higher increase in players fighting bosses. Surprise, surprise, people are not scared of dying, so they're actually going to bosses. And that's a good thing, and that's exactly what you want. I mean, as a content developer, or as a game in general, you want people to interact with your content. You don't want people to feel like they cannot be doing certain type of bosses because of dev in this case. So these 3 weeks show Jagex in hard-hitting numbers that dev cost is so limiting that the increase that they see when there's no dev cost is just ridiculous. So they had to do something about it. But does that even make sense? Like, are people being scared? Something that makes sense in the grand scheme of things. Because if you really think about it, right? Let's take my setup, for example. Let's say I'm going to Zami, right? With my current setup, which, as I said, is a 5 million or roughly 5 million GP dev cost. If I die, I pay 5 million GP. Zamrak's average skill, without calculating the uniques into it, is about 2.5 million GP in raw cash. So every 2 kills, I could pretty much die and break even. Obviously, there are supply costs and other costs, but for this argument's sake, let's just only take the dev cost and the money that I'll be making. Probably in my first hour of learning Zami, I might die 5 times, lose 25 million GP, and I will have to do at least 1 hour, full hour without deaths at Zami to pay it back. So my second hour, I might only die twice, so we're at 35 million GP, so still I'm making some money back, but in my third hour of Zami, I'll be making actual profit. And obviously, if you calculate in the actual rare items, you will be making even more profit, but on the long term, you'll be making profit, and that goes with every single boss. It doesn't matter how expensive your dev cost is or how profitable. I mean, if you go to Giant Mall, maybe this doesn't apply, but any boss that is pretty much equivalent to your gear, where you'll be paying dev cost, in the long term, you'll be making a lot more money. However, a lot of people don't seem to be thinking long term, and I think that is quite interesting, and it makes sense as well. Look, I looked into some psychology theory. I've been educated on psychology as well when I was studying as a social worker, but to give you an example, this stems back from like 30,000 years ago when we were hunter and gatherers. If you saw a bush of berries, you wouldn't just sit there and be like, you know what, I will just eat 5 out of the 100 berries and then come back every single day and just eat them so I have food every single day. No, they didn't take the risk in case, you know, an animal came and ate all the berries, or, you know, tomorrow they come back and they're rotten, or, you know, the wind has blown them away, or whatever. No, they would see food and be like, yo, we need to survive, so I need to eat. And that is something that still is in our brains today. That goes with dev cost in the case of like, oh, well, if I die, I lose money. Losing money is bad, so I won't do it. And the short-term memory, or short-term thinking, sorry, has even increased over the years as well. Like, we are living, as we all know, in a very, very fast society. Society literally goes brrr nowadays when it comes to technology, but even things. And an example of that is when we're looking at the like long-term thinking of short-term thinking, I think the majority of you guys knew when back in the day you would get like 1 or 2 reports of school, right? Like you would get one either like around December time, or you would get one at the end of the year. Your parents would see, oh, he's probably doing well. However, parents now can micromanage. You can see every single grade that you get, but that also makes them annoyed. Like, let's be honest, when you got we have a grading system out of 10, if you got a 4 out of 10, your parents would be like, bro, why did you get a 4? Instead of, you know, at the end of the year when everything averages out, you get like a 6.2, right? They focus on the smaller numbers or like the bad grades instead of looking at the great scheme of things. Like, when you got one report, when everything averages out, your parents will be like, yeah, I'm doing a pretty good job. And, you know, he's doing pretty well as well. But now when they're seeing the individual grades, they are like, hey, you're not doing well. You're slacking on Spanish or on English or whatever. And that might seem as a bit of a random example, but that goes with everything. Like, short-term thinking, everything currently in our society is built on short-term thinking, which sounds really weird because you would think with all the technology you were thinking about the future, but it actually is working counterintuitive. And there's an article that explains it in complete detail, which I'll also link in the description down below as always, where I got this information from and stuff. And sure, there must be multiple perspectives, but it also comes into risk and risk aversion, people being scared of actually taking risks. I mean, that's also a whole psychological thing that you could probably also track back to hunter and gatherers. I mean, you're not going to risk going out in the dark to be killed by a bear, right? No, you're not going to be doing that. You're going to be staying with your pack and just hoping you will not die in the night. That is it. But there's another thing that comes with modern society, and that is status. Even if you don't care about it, it's a subconscious thing, and that ties into FOMO as well, fear of missing out. People don't want to miss out on things, which is very interesting, and you'll see it back into games as well. There's probably people watching this that think, hey, okay, you know what? I might not want to go bossing right now because I need the money for a possible new rare, or I need the money for a new boss to come out and make money on that. And then when the new boss comes out, they're not going there because, well, they're still scared of dying, right? Well, obviously with the old death cost. And it's them just being scared of not being able to do content later on, because they're losing money now to learn content that is currently available, and brings them in a loop of, as I said, I want money, I don't want to spend my money right now, or I don't want to lose my money right now on dying and learning a new boss, because maybe in a month a new boss will come out and I will not have enough money to try and learn that boss, and then I cannot make money of it. But then when that boss comes out, they're scared to do it anyway because of the death cost. What I'm trying to say is that those two subjects, or those two psychological things, long-term versus short-term thinking and being scared of taking risk, really played a huge part in death cost. And hopefully with the new changes that came out Monday, people will not be scared of actually going to bosses anymore. I mean, I would say it's already been proven with the free death weeks that people do more bossing. And I really hope that this make people do more content within the game because they're less scared of losing that money. Whatever reason that is, like, it has nothing to do with intelligence or, you know, people being, you know, better when they think long term or versus short term. There's nothing to do with it. It's just, you know, that's just how some people think, and that is okay. But the thing what I'm trying to say is I really hope that this new change, and I definitely think that this new change will change this whole perception of people not wanting to boss because of whatever reason, them losing money and whatever reasons are tied to it. However, if you did enjoy this video, definitely leave a like on it. I really hope you like these types of videos because I love making them. They're so much fun to make, so I really hope you guys enjoy them as well. Join in with the discussion down below as well. Let me know if you are someone who likes to take risks with their video games and in life in general, and if this really changes your mind on it. Subscribe if you're new, check out all the links in the description down below. Shout out to Baphomet, the only channel member, and I'll see you guys in my next video.